Hey, business law students, Mr. P here. We are going to finish the last couple slides of the employment contracts notes. And when I last saw you, we had finished up this part, employees' duties. So if you could go ahead and find that in your notes. If you remember, I was talking about employees owing their boss obedience, reasonable skill, loyalty and honesty, reasonable performance, and other agreed upon duties. So that's just a quick review of where we left off. I'm going to quickly transition into employer's duties. So, what does your boss owe you in the workplace? First and foremost, of course, is compensation. Compensation generally comes in the form of pay, but there are these things called fringe benefits. Fringe benefits are the non-cash benefits on the fringe, on the outside of your compensation package, in addition to the cash, the paycheck. So those things could be healthcare benefits, a company car, maybe cell phone usage, paid time off. These are things that would be included in a compensation package that is owed by your employer. Safe working conditions is the second one. And you'll notice that it says to the extent that can be reasonably guaranteed. As long as your employer is making reasonable, and we see that word over and over in business law, reasonable effort to make the working conditions as safe as they can, then they will satisfy this duty. But if you are working in a job that's inherently dangerous, like maybe you're a deep sea fisherman or you work with explosives or whatever, then that's not something that can be totally guaranteed 100% of the time. Reasonable treatment is the third one. That's basically ideas of issues of harassment, respect, no physical harm, those sorts of things. Reasonable treatment would fall under the third category. They would owe you anything covered by the Fair Labor Standards Act. So we're talking about things we covered earlier, like the 40-hour work week. If they go over that, they would owe you overtime. There's also the minimum wage laws. Now, understand that minimum wage covers most employees, but there are some exceptions to the minimum wage law. Waiters, waitresses, for example, jobs where they receive tips are some exceptions to the minimum wage law. But for the most part, working adults, would be owed at least whatever the federal minimum wage is. Now, some states have minimum wages that are higher than the federal minimum wage, and that's great. You'd have a minimum wage higher than the federal minimum wage if you worked in those states. And that you would only agree to hold your employees to previously agreed upon assigned duties. So, for example, if you're hired as a police officer, the chief of police can't just go to you one day and say, well, you know what, today I don't want you to go on your police beat. I want you to cut my grass. Unless that was something that was part of that contract, I'd said there were some unique situations, like the first school I worked at in Paradise, Michigan. One of the teachers had agreed to also be the bus driver. And so, in addition to his teacher duties, he had previously agreed to also be the bus driver, which has nothing to do with being a teacher. Last slide. Termination, so leaving a job. Most jobs are what we call at-will jobs. At-will means that you can leave at any time with no repercussions, or you can be fired with no repercussions. Specific length of time. These are contracts like you see professional athletes and coaches would have. That'd be like a 5-year contract or a 1-year contract. You see these all the time. And then with government jobs, there are civil service, there's a process in order to let you go or to fire. They have to prove that you did something wrong. So that is it.